Hey everyone, I got my lovely headset on and we are ready to work with our first lesson in Fieldwork Orientation. So this is really just to get you guys familiar with the fieldwork lingo and things you guys might hear with this along with your clinical rotations coming up here in this spring semester, and I'll kind of be going over some more details about that here later on in the presentation. So first off, we have my contact information, which you also have in the faculty tab on the Blackboard site. But just so you guys have it here, once again, has my office number. I'm down in the basement of Lincoln Hall in the Springfield campus, and that is my phone number. It is usually always forwarded to my cell phone. I may or may not pick that up if it's after business hours, like I said in my welcome message if you took a look at that. But I usually am pretty available. So we have my email address here, my OTC email. And there we go. So terms you might hear, especially in this class or when you're out on your fieldwork rotation. First off, fieldwork in general. But people also may synonymously call that clinical. And practicum, it may be referred to, so you can see this is referred to as practicum 1. Internship, externship, it's really kind of all the same thing. It's your hands-on experience in what we do as an OTA. You will have a clinical instructor or a CI, so this may be for the semester, it will be the faculty. You have your academic fieldwork coordinator, your AFWC, and that is me. And your fieldwork coordinator may be the person that I'm working with at the site just to kind of get together all of the clinical rotation, the paperwork, some of the background planning of it all, and making sure that's all in line. I also have to make sure that we have contracts with all the sites that we go to, and I do fieldwork visits to kind of gather information and better prepare you for some of your bigger clinical rotations that we have. But if you guys want any information about the sites that we may be going to, I would have that available too. You just have to ask. So why do we do fieldwork? Basically, it just provides you guys an opportunity for all the things, including every single one of the foundations class and whatnot. Everything you guys are learning in the didactic portion of your OTA career, your student career, you'll be able to apply this into real working environments that all shape you into being a entry-level OTA. So that's basically the purpose of that fieldwork opportunity, but it also does present itself to have some good networking advantages, and a lot of people tend to find that they can also have job opportunities with their fieldwork rotation, so it's just a really good opportunity all around. So let's take a look a little bit at the time sequencing and how this kind of looks. So first semester, actually, I apologize, we don't have those observation assignments, but we're going to keep on chugging along. So first semester, we actually don't have anything. Second semester, we have practicum 1, which is this class, and it's OTA 211. This is considered a level 1 experience, and this is going to be a variety of experiences, and I'll go over that in a little bit. And then we have third semester is practicum 2, and that's OTA 241. That is a 2-week experience, so you guys are basically just out in the field for 2 weeks. And then we have the fourth semester, which is primarily your clinical rotation. So you have 2 8-week consecutive experiences. So for you guys, the spring of 2018, you'll just be out on your clinical rotations at that time. There are a ton of different settings that AOTA said that fieldwork can be done in, and we'll just go through a couple of these. So first off, we have rehab and disability. So there is inpatient rehab, for example, and that can be part of a hospital affiliation. So for example, Mercy has inpatient rehab, Cox has inpatient rehab as well. There's other like NARMC is in Harrison, and then some other ones in other various parts of Columbia, Missouri has them, Kansas City, Missouri. So primarily what you're going to see in inpatient rehab is 3 hours of therapy a day. So this is usually recommended for people that have quite a bit of rehab potential, but also need quite a bit of rehab just to get back to things that they were doing before. So, for example, you may have some patients that I usually refer to this setting are traumatic brain injuries, like new traumatic brain injuries, stroke patients, spinal cord injuries, like fresh spinal cord injuries, amputations, and those might just be some of the diagnoses. There's going to be a plethora that could go there, but it's really about how much rehab they need to get back to their full potential, and then if they can tolerate 3 hours of therapy a day. So that would include OT, PT, and sometimes SLP, sometimes it's just OT, PT, or sometimes you know, 2 of the 3. So that would kind of differentiate from there. There is also acute, which is a hospital-based setting, which would be like Mercy and Cox. They usually have about 23-minute treatments, and this is seeing people. That just have like fresh injuries. They have acute things going on, and that's why they got brought to the hospital. So, in the acute side, I am making recommendations on where people should be going for further continued rehab if they need any once they leave the hospital. So, there's some there is some acute and some inpatient rehab information there for you. Then we have mental health, and that is a god-awful picture, and I apologize about that. But, oh, I meant to tell you, sorry, the last slide also had a video if you guys wanted to take a look at some of the rehab, just an example of rehab that I threw in there for you. There is mental health, and so you can find mental health, honestly, in any of the settings. So, but there are some places that specialize just for mental health. So, for example, Mrs. Sanford, that's where she did a lot of her primary practice in New York, was in mental health facilities. So, I'm sure you guys probably heard about that. But really, if you're interested in mental health, I can tell you it can be found pretty much in every setting across the board. Then we also have pediatrics, and that is a video if you guys want to click on that in your PowerPoint. And so this is pediatrics kind of is a whole realm within itself, because you have outpatient pediatrics where their parents or caregiver or guardian is bringing them to the site. You have inpatient rehab for pediatrics, so that's like the 3 hour of therapy that we talked about, but just with people who are under the age of 18. There is home health pediatrics, where you go out to people's homes. There's first steps, and that's 0 to 3. In Arkansas, they can do it in daycares. Then you have school systems as well. So there's a really wide range of, kind of like a subset actually, in pediatrics as well, that you could go into practice there too. We have skilled nursing facilities, so those would be, you know, people would think nursing homes with that. So those skilled nursing facilities, and those treatment ranges are going to vary, sometimes as short as 15 minutes all the way up to an hour, and you're working with primarily elderly populations. However, there are some times where there are people who are younger than the age of 65 in nursing homes, and we would see them too. There's also home health as well, where we would go to people's homes, and you can go to assisted livings, you could go to independent, like continuum of care. And so that would be like the gardens, if you're familiar with Springfield, where people, they may start out in their private residence, then move into assisted living, then move into skilled nursing or dementia units, just as their comorbidities kind of progress as they get older, or like natural aging process kind of sets in. They may need more levels of care and more levels of rehab along the way. So that is all a possibility in that setting. We have work in industry, so we can assist people back with ergonomics. There is a place called Springfield Workshop, where people with developmental, physical, cognitive disabilities, they have a job, and we would go in and take a look at some tasks that they have that pertains to that job and adapt it so that they could make that achievable. Work hardening programs or conditioning programs, so to get people back maybe from work comp that have been injured and they need to get back to doing their job. We could work in that setting too. So our centennial vision that we have for AOTA, basically that we are going to provide services related to physical and emotional well-being. So this could be, this is one where a huge healthcare disparity has actually been taking place, and so one of the biggest things coming out of this is actually obesity, which we do have in your first lesson for OTA 225. So we're going to kind of go over what OT can do in that, and we'll just take a look at overall quality of life and just overall role in discrepancies and things like that, where we can be present and provide direct services. So let's talk about a little bit of some policies for fieldwork. So I've uploaded your fieldwork manual. I want you guys to go ahead to review that because that will be important for your rotations. But first off, for your supervisors, I just said for your supervisors, we have a level 1, and so that's what you guys are going to be engaging in this semester and in the fall semester. So actually your supervisor does not have to be an OT or an OTA. It can just be a knowledgeable person of the field of occupational therapy. We, of course, like that's part of my job, is to go and do some background and make sure they really understand that and how to convey that in your rotation. But then we also have level 2, and that has to be, the supervisors have to be a CODA or OT. So it's just kind of the difference between the two. Time required, really, the days and hours are honestly just based on the site. So some like for example, schools, they have a lot of like 7 a or 6:30 in the morning till like 3:30 in the afternoon. And then some skilled nursings, you make up your own hours when you come in. At the hospital, I kind of choose when I come in and when I leave as well. So I just really want to ingrain that your clinical times will really be based on whatever is considered full-time at the site, number one, and then also based upon what your supervisor is working. So I'll go about how to ask and how to set you guys up with that. But so this is how your level 1 and this semester is really going to work out. So there's a lot of things that go into planning this. The sites have to be agreeable to the times that we go. There has to be staff. We have to be available to be able to go with you and supervise. So that is why we're still finalizing some of that. I say weekends and evenings may be possible, and that is true for your level 1s and level 2s. That may happen if your supervisor works a weekend rotation. So just to be aware of that. We're going to do our best, and I have put in my syllabus, you guys will get a clinical schedule, so I will assign you to your clinical sites and times, just like you would in any other rotations. You'll find those out when you get your information about your clinical rotation. Let's see, eligibility. So you must pass, for this class in OTA 211, you must have passed the required OTA classes prior to this to be able to participate in this. I'm going to say it like 1,000 times, so you're going to see it in my announcement, you're going to see it in the lesson, you're going to see it here, because I do need copies of your CPR cards, your physicals, your immunizations, background checks you guys should have done already. It may be possible that you guys have to do a drug screening, so that can be random at any time, so I just want to give you guys a heads up on that, so you may be asked to do that. Immunizations are really the biggest thing. When I went and checked today, there were quite a few people that still didn't have their immunizations in, so if you guys have any questions about specific ones, most people were missing their flu shot, so get that in as soon as possible. You can always shoot me an email, and then I can let you know what you are needing. Experiences are mandatory, so punctuality is graded, and then if you don't participate, that will result in your grade, and too many experiences missed will be failure of the class. So if you do not pass this class, then you will not be able to go on in the OTA program. And you'll have to come back and repeat that. So I make all the assignments. There may be some traveling that's involved. Now, local placement will be considered within 60-mile radius of the Springfield campus. So you will have a local placement for your level 1 rotations here. The students are responsible, and this is true for level 1 and level 2, you're responsible for your transportation to and from, housing, any family responsibilities you might have, expenses, all of that is your guys' responsibility, and to give you a heads up on that. So let's see, grading, you do get graded on this, and it will be from your supervisor, so it is part of your grade, but you have to pass the clinical experience in order to pass the class as a whole. So basically it will all combine and you guys will get graded, so you have to have an overall score above a 75 in order to pass on the evaluation to pass this class. So basically a lot of times I get asked, what are the biggest things about passing my clinicals after that. So first off, being prepared and being organized. Time management is going to be a huge thing. Communication, because number one, you guys have already figured out we're online, but in general, even with your supervisors in the future, just speak up and ask questions, because first off, we know that you guys are going to have questions, and it's okay, and that's what we're here for. Your supervisors are there to answer questions for you about the practice, what you're seeing, if you have any kind of things like, hey, I remember this emotional lability from OTA 130. Is this what this patient is doing? And feel free to ask things like that. It's really what your supervisors want. They're there to help you and teach you. Negotiation, might give and take on some things. Flexibility is probably the biggest thing that I hear. So, we deal with the human population, so some things don't always go as planned, and we just have to be kind of flexible with that. Being proactive and taking charge of your learning experience will be another one. So that kind of goes in with asking questions too. But don't be afraid to try to get hands-on, and we'll work with those parameters. But don't be afraid to try something new. So, your fieldwork passport, basically. You need your identification badge, which I have some of yours, and I will give you those to you when you guys are on campus as that comes up. Copies in the Allied Health Office of your CPR card, physical immunizations, TB test. There's 2 steps, so most of you guys have that in. There was a lot of people who, or not a lot of people, I'm sorry, over-exaggerating. Couple people who were missing, like if you had a varicella round, you're missing like the 3rd round of your varicella or the 3rd round of your MMR, so that really needs to come in. Flu shot. We have liability insurance. If anybody asks about that, we have that for you. And then if a drug screen is warranted, we'll do that too. So that's really what you guys need. I have the Ask the Class forum up on the Blackboard side. Feel free to post there. But other than that, that is pretty much it for your orientation to your level 1 field work. I will be posting more information for you guys as we get more information on the clinical sites and your schedules, and you guys will probably have more questions then. So I will see you around and talk to you later.